In a forgotten corner of Mexico, where dust and abandonment intertwine with the echo of lost prayers, a crumbling church holds secrets that time has refused to reclaim. There, Manuel, a vagabond with a face weathered by the sun and hunger, stumbles upon destiny in an instant that will change everything. His trembling hands, guided by an almost instinctive curiosity, discover a hidden compartment in the crumbling altar. From it, he extracts a relic wrapped in a faded flag, marked with the ominous symbols of the National Socialist Party of Germany. As he unfolds it, his eyes meet the Spear of Destiny, an artifact imbued with an ancient and malevolent energy that seems to whisper in the shadows. Suddenly, an invisible and overwhelming force takes hold of Manuel. His steps, once erratic, become firm, almost mechanical, as a mysterious presence drags him into a hypnotic trance towards the road. The world seems to fade around him, and in an instant of brutal violence, a car crashes into him with a roar that shatters the silence. The impact is devastating. Manuel's body collapses lifeless, the front of the vehicle is shattered, and the lance rolls aside, intact. But death is not the end. Chilling twist, a demonic entity, dark and hungry, takes possession of Manuel's lifeless body. His eyes, now ignited with an unnatural glow, flash as he rises with impossible agility. With the spear firmly gripped, the possessed flees into the night, leaving a trail of terror behind. Meanwhile, on the other side of the border, in the chaotic depths of Los Angeles, Father Hennessy, a priest hardened by years of battling the supernatural, faces a horror that defies his experience. Girl, barely a shadow of innocence, is possessed by a demonic soldier whose ferocity has left him powerless. Desperate, Hennessy calls for the help of John Constantine, an exorcist with a tormented soul and unorthodox methods. The presence of the demon in the girl is not a simple case of possession. This entity seeks to open a door to the human world, an act that breaks the laws of balance between heaven and hell. Constantine, with his characteristic tattered coat and sharp determination, begins a tension-filled exorcism ritual. The air thickens with ancient chants and the stench of sulfur. After a battle of wills, John manages to tear the demon from the girl's body, trapping it in a 1-meter-high mirror that glows with a supernatural brightness. With a swift motion, he throws the mirror out the window, and the glass shatters against Chaz Kramer's taxi parked below. The demon, trapped in the shards, is dragged back to hell with a scream that echoes through the night. But rest does not come for Constantine. His life hangs by a thread, consumed by lung cancer that he himself fed with decades of cigarettes. In an act of desperation, he seeks the mestizo angel Gabriel, an androgynous figure of ethereal beauty and relentless judgment, to plead for a postponement of his death. Under the pale light of an improvised sanctuary, Gabriel watches him with eyes that seem to see through his soul. His response is cold, almost cruel. John's exorcisms, motivated by selfishness and not by redemption, will not open the gates of heaven for him. The cancer, he tells him, is the price of his own sins. Wounded but not surprised, Constantine leaves, only to be ambushed by a full demon, an abomination formed by a swarm of insects and crustaceans that screech with malevolence. With a titanic effort, he repels the attack, but the encounter leaves him with more questions than answers. Determined to unravel the mystery, John seeks out Papa Midnight, a witch doctor whose ancient magic and pact of neutrality make him an unlikely ally. In a clandestine bar filled with smoke and whispers, Midnight listens to Constantine's request but refuses to intervene. His code is clear: he will not take sides as long as the balance between heaven and hell remains intact. The tension between them is palpable, broken only by the appearance of Balthazar, a half-demon with a venomous smile and eyes that ooze contempt. With a mocking tone, Balthazar reveals that the entire hell awaits Constantine's death with delight. His soul, marked by years of interfering with demonic plans, is a coveted trophy. Worse still, It is the only soul that Lucifer himself would descend to earth to claim. Balthazar's words resonate like a sentence, and Constantine, with the weight of his destiny on his shoulders, knows that the true battle has only just begun. Faced with this scenario, Constantine sets out to unravel the mystery alongside his allies Beeman, Father Hennessy, and Chaz Kramer, seeking clarity on the strange events surrounding them. Meanwhile, Angela Dodson, a detective from the Los Angeles police, arrives at Constantine's apartment imploring his assistance to solve the case of her twin sister's death, Isabel Dodson. Isabel died after throwing herself from the roof of a psychiatric hospital where she was interned, although the security camera footage shows Isabel jumping into the void. Angela is sure that her sister, a fervent Catholic aware of the spiritual consequences of suicide, would never have made that decision. Constantine initially scoffs at her request and refuses to get involved, but when a group of demons attacks Angela in the middle of the street, he drives them away using his lighter to project a blinding light similar to the sun, which leads him to commit to helping her. Later, at Angela's apartment, Constantine decides to embark on a journey to hell through an arcane ritual to confirm if Isabel's soul resides there. Upon arrival, his fears are confirmed. Isabel took her own life, back on Earth. He shares the devastating news with Angela, explaining that her twin sister is condemned to hell for her sin. Thanks to the investigations of Hennessy and Beeman, Constantine discovers that Mammon, the son of Lucifer, plans to establish his own dominion on Earth, breaking into the human realm, an act forbidden by the laws that govern the balance between heaven and hell. To execute his Machiavellian plan, Mammon needs divine intervention and the power of an exceptional psychic, Isabel, facilitated by the half-demon Balthazar. After gathering this information, Hennessy and Beeman turn up dead, and Constantine begins to suspect that Balthazar is behind it all. Angela, for her part, confesses that she shares the same psychic gift as her sister and Constantine, although she repressed it until it became inactive. With Constantine's guidance and a special ritual, Angela revives her psychic ability through a near-death experience. With her gift restored, she detects a coin belonging to Balthazar at the scene of Beeman's death, confirming that this demon is responsible for the crimes. Furious at the discovery, John equips himself with artifacts from Beeman's workshop and forges a sacred shotgun, powered by Dragon's Breath, ready to avenge his friends and punish Balthazar for breaking the rules of balance. Moments later, John rushes off in search of Balthazar, the half-breed demon, and confronts him to extract Mammon's plans. Under pressure, Balthazar confesses that Mammon has obtained the Spear of Destiny, imbued with the blood of Jesus Christ. Just as they are about to leave, Angela appears at the door, and Balthazar lets out a mocking laugh, revealing that she was the target from the beginning and that John led her directly into his trap. Furious, John fires his weapon at Balthazar, shredding him. In a burst of fragments, as John and Angela leave the place, Mammon, inhabiting the body of the vagabond Manuel, appears at the entrance. Balthazar, still conscious, informs him that he has located Isabel's twin, ready for the ritual, and begs for Mammon's loyalty in exchange for restoring his shattered body. However, Mammon, devoid of compassion, disintegrates him and condemns him back to hell. While they wait for the elevator, John notices that Angela has removed Father Hennessy's protective collar, allowing an invisible force to drag and abduct her, taking her to the hospital where Isabel died. In order to use her as a portal for Mammon's birth on Earth, faced with this crisis, Constantine persuades Papa Midnight that the balance between heaven and hell has been broken, and he grants him access to the chair, an old electric chair from Sing Sing prison, which ended the lives of more than 200 inmates sitting in it. Constantine has a vision that reveals how Manuel, possessed after finding the lance in Mexico, transported it to Los Angeles for this evil purpose. Aware of the infernal plot, Constantine and Chaz head to the hospital to stop the ritual. In the hospital, Angela is attacked by the possessed Manuel, who tries to drown her to drag her to hell. There, demons surround her, making way for Mammon, who assaults her and invades her body. Constantine and Chaz burst into the ritual room and begin an exorcism to free her. They partially achieve their goal, but Mammon takes refuge in Angela's womb, who screams in agony begging them to extract him. Finally, they expel the demon and save Angela, but an overwhelming force possesses Chaz violently, throwing him against the floor and the ceiling until he dies. Furious, Constantine unleashes his power, joining his arms tattooed with sacred symbols, about to defeat the demon. However, at the last moment, the Archangel Gabriel easily stops him. Gabriel confesses to being the architect of this plan, expressing his frustration with God's favoritism towards humans, considers that easy forgiveness for their sins is unjust, and believes that unleashing hell on earth will forge survivors worthy of divine love through repentance and faith. Faced with Gabriel's plan, Constantine accuses him of losing his mind and warns him that he will not succeed. However, Gabriel, with a gesture of disdain, throws Constantine out of the room and approaches Angela, ready to stab her with the Spear of Destiny to complete the ritual that will release Mammon on Earth. Aware that he cannot stop the ritual in time, Constantine makes a desperate decision. He cuts his veins, knowing two things. First, that in the Catholic faith, suicide directly condemns one to hell, and second, that his soul is the only one that Lucifer himself would come to claim. In the room, Gabriel, with Angela unconscious, caresses her face to revive the possession, places his hand on the belly where Mammon grows, and prepares the lance. Mammon moves inside Angela, and Gabriel aims the spear at her navel, about to deliver the final blow, when time abruptly stops. At that moment, Lucifer appears in the room. Constantine reveals Mammon's plot to him, but Lucifer, distrustful of John's tricks, doubts his words. At Constantine's insistence, Lucifer enters the ritual room and, upon confirming the truth, interrupts the process, banishing Mammon back to hell to prevent him from usurping his dominion over Earth. When Gabriel tries to confront him, the Archangel's wings are consumed in flames, and God, as punishment for his betrayal, strips him of his divinity, reducing him to a mortal. After thwarting Mammon's plans, Lucifer approaches Constantine and, acknowledging his help, offers him a favor, asks him if he wants an extension to escape the lung cancer that consumes him. But John, in an act of redemption, instead asks him to free Isabel's soul so she can ascend to heaven. Lucifer agrees, allows Isabel's soul to attain salvation, and begins to drag Constantine into hell. However, John's sacrifice earns him divine forgiveness, and his soul begins to ascend to heaven. Furious, Lucifer, convinced that Constantine's soul belongs to him, heals his wounds and his cancer, bringing him back to life so that, in time, he will fall into temptation again and long for hell. Angela and Constantine leave the place with the lance, but they run into Gabriel, now human, provokes him, inciting him to kill him with his sacred shotgun as revenge for his actions. Instead of giving in, Constantine punches him in the face and says, "That's pain, get used to it." Hours later, John hands the spear to Angela, instructing her to hide it where no one can find it and forget everything that happened. And the final scene. Instead of lighting a cigarette as he used to, John chooses to chew a nicotine gum, a sign of a subtle change in his life. In the post-credit scene, Constantine visits Chaz Kramer's grave, leaving a lighter engraved with the St. Benedict medal and murmuring, "You made it, kid." As he turns around, Ches manifests as an angel, revealing himself as the new Archangel Gabriel, demonstrating that, although Constantine distrusts divine protection, God has always watched over him from the shadows.